everyone, it is Lori with Behavior Education at Spirit Keeper Equine Sanctuary. Welcome to Royals at the Ranch for Thursday, March 10th, 2022. We're going to flash backward and forward in time a little bit in this episode. Well, when I say we're going to flash forward in time, I don't really mean we're going to go into the future. We're going to flash back in time, and then we're going to flash back to the present. And we're going to take a look at a new addition, not to behavior education, but to Spirit Keeper Equine Sanctuary. Even though the name of our animal sanctuary is Spirit Keeper Equine Sanctuary, we have evolved over the years since its inception to take in more species than just horses and other equids. So we have taken in over the years lots of different mammals, both exotic mammals, livestock, and domestic mammals. We've taken in some birds, some reptiles, some fish. We have a few snakes that are actually snakes that were relinquished to the animal sanctuary. And we had one relinquished this past Saturday night. So this is airing on Thursday. So that would have been just a few days ago, 6 days ago. And she was driven all the way from California here to Colorado to specifically be relinquished to our animal sanctuary. She is a 23-year-old Python regius. She arrived here with the name Buddy. However, we have a horse here at the animal sanctuary that's already named Buddy, a 25 or 26-year-old Arabian gelding. And so I think we're going to call this snake something else. I got some name suggestions today from the Not Just a Pet Rock Facebook group, and I liked Betty. Now, we did used to have a chicken here at the animal sanctuary named Betty, but that's been many, many, many years ago. So I think I would feel all right calling her Betty, and it still starts with a B like Buddy. So I might end up calling her Betty. Betty. I might end up calling Buddy Betty. But we don't actually for sure know that she's a female. That's just what the people told us. We're going to flash back in time to a video I made before she got here. And I'm talking about how I thought that was all going to go. And when she actually got relinquished, it didn't go exactly how I envisioned. But first, let's watch that original video, and then I'll tell you what actually happened. Hello everyone, today is Saturday, March 5th, 2022. I am Lori with Behavior Education at Spirit Keeper Equine Sanctuary. We have an animal being relinquished to our animal sanctuary today, and that is due to a series of circumstances which led this person, who is moving here from California to live with her daughter and grandkids, to relinquish a royal python to us who is 23 years old. Long story short, we have an intern that is completing 2 of her required internships for her applied science degree in zookeeping technology from Pikes Peak Community College here. And her grandmother is the one that is moving in with them due to some changes in her life, and she can no longer take care of the snake. And really, her daughter doesn't want the snake in their house. So she is driving from California. She left yesterday. She's going to arrive sometime this afternoon, and they are immediately going to bring the snake over here. I have not seen the snake, and so I actually really know very little about it. And I'm going to film the arrival, I think, and setting up the snake in quarantine, and I'm going to question the snake's current owner to acquire more information about the snake's history, where it came from, and just the ins and outs of how its life has gone over the past 23 years. Okay, that's not exactly how the evening went. The snake did arrive on Saturday the 5th. However, the person transporting the snake got a flat tire in Arizona and had to wait hours and hours for help, or a tow truck or AAA or whoever she called. And so the snake and its transporter did not actually arrive here at Spirit Keeper Equine Sanctuary until 9:30 or 10 p.m. on Saturday night. It was very cold outside. We were right in the middle of doing our nighttime barn chores with the horses. Our intern was here, and my husband, Jim, and the intern and the intern's mother was out here, and the intern's grandmother carried the snake in with her old enclosure and all of her stuff. And we did get her set up in the quarantine room. However, I didn't film any of it because it was just very cold and chaotic and dark. So the snake arrived safely. She was very cold. They brought her enclosure with her, although we ended up not keeping the enclosure. And here's why. The enclosure was, okay, here's the whole story that I got, which is a little bit different than the original story. This is not the snake, by the way. This is a moon. He is one of the first 2 royals at the ranch, and it's coming up on his 2-year anniversary of living here. He and Amunet arrived here in March of 2020. Yes, March 24th, 2020. He was hatched in November of 2019. And after 2 years almost of being here, he has decided that it is okay to come out of his enclosure and interact with people. And for whatever reason, this past week, he has come out every night for the last 4 nights on his own when I've opened the door, and he has roamed around the room. He's allowed me to pick him up without getting nervous or upset. And he's actually spent 2 evenings on one of our activity stations climbing around. And when I have put him back in his enclosure, he has come to the door and wanted back out. So that's just a little piece of information that I kind of got sidetracked on, but thought was really important. And let's just call this our behavior break for this episode, because I want to point out a couple of things. Number one, I didn't coin the term choice-based handling, and choice-based handling perhaps should be called choice-based care or choice-based husbandry, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you're handling the animals. Choice-based care just means that you're giving the animals choice and control in their own care as much as is possible, given the fact that they're already under captive management, which actually isn't by choice to begin with. So choice-based care or choice-based handling just means that we are allowing the snakes to choose when they want to interact, when we can do that. Meaning it's not an emergency, it's not a medical necessity. We're not having to take them to the vet or evacuate or do something critical like that, where we would have to just take them out of their enclosure and pick them up and handle them. So I've actually never taken a moon out of his enclosure in the 2 years he's been here. He has come out 3 times on his own, other than this week. This week, he's just been coming out for some reason, and that's fine. And I know that we often gauge success with choice-based care on whether the snakes come out of their enclosure or not. And really, the snakes don't have to come out of their enclosure. It's nice when they do because it allows us to take care of cleaning and things with the snake not in there. But I've always handled that before by lifting him out when he's in his humid hide or his other hide and setting him aside and doing what I need to do and then putting the whole hide back with him in it. We really should be happy if the snakes are exhibiting natural behaviors in their enclosure, meaning they're staying visible and active and doing normal activities when we're in the room watching. And that's really part of the enjoyment for me of having the snakes, is seeing them just being snakes and doing normal things, and that they feel comfortable enough to do that with us nearby. So whether they come out of their enclosure or not really shouldn't be how we're gauging our success in developing a good relationship with our snakes. If they're behaving as they should, exhibiting natural behaviors and just being snakes in our presence, whether that's in their enclosure or out, we should be happy about that. And we are still interacting with our snakes when we're watching them express their natural species typical behaviors. All right, so enough for our behavior break. Now let's get back to Buddy's story. Here's the story I got when Buddy got dropped off. Buddy belonged to a man named Frank, and he got Buddy, who I think we're going to call Betty, as a baby from someone else, and had her for 2 or 3 years, and then asked his sister to pet sit for him And that was 20 years ago. So Frank's sister is our intern's grandmother. And so our intern's grandmother and her partner have kept this snake for 20 years. And now they're having some health issues. And they're actually moving from California to Colorado to buy a house and have their mother move in with them, which would be my intern's great-grandmother. And so they asked our animal sanctuary if we could take care of Buddy, now Betty, for the rest of her life because their lives are changing so drastically. It's complicated. Anyway, one of them drove from California to Colorado last Saturday. Well, they left Friday and got here Saturday night for the sole purpose of making sure the snake got here safely. And then they drove back to California. And so they put the snake in a snake bag in a box, just like you would ship it in if you were shipping the snake FedEx, with a heat pack. They thought that would be the safest way to transport the snake, even though they were driving it. She was driving it herself. So the snake apparently got out of the bag during the trip and pushed out of the box. And I'm not surprised because she's a big girl. I weighed her and she is 2,130 grams. She is the heaviest snake we have here at our sanctuary or in my behavior education business. She's our heaviest snake. She's a big girl. She's not our longest snake, but she's certainly our heaviest snake. So anyway, she got her corralled, and by the time she got here, she was back in the snake bag, back in the box, and she felt pretty cold because she had broken down. It was cold outside. It was 9:30 or 10 p.m. when they arrived here, and it was cold. So the first thing that I did was I put Betty in like a bin, and I made sure that she was in a warm room, but I didn't put any artificial heat on her because I wanted her to warm up gradually. And then we got a quarantine enclosure set up, which is a 4x2x2 Zen habitat. And that was my last spare enclosure. I've mentioned in past videos that I keep enclosures in our storage building for the occasion that I need to move a snake up to a bigger one, or we have a snake unexpectedly arrive here. And that was my last one in reserve. So I'm now out of enclosures until I can start stockpiling more. So we set her up in this Zen habitat with some of her old substrate from her old enclosure, her old hide, which she doesn't really fit in, her rock, a piece of plastic foliage, and her old branch. And it looked pretty bare, and I didn't really feel right about that. So the next day I threw a cardboard box in there for her and a Reptile Basics black plastic hide. And I think that's it. Now they did bring a CHE ceramic heat emitter, so we set that up on there, and then I added just today UVB and a halogen bulb for her. I got some footage of what the enclosure looks like now. Keep in mind, this isn't her permanent setup. She's in quarantine. I put a bunch of her old stuff in there that they brought with her because I wanted her to feel as comfortable as possible. And then I added a cardboard box and some actual light, and then that black plastic hide. But she's actually been using the cardboard box. So even though she's only been here 5 or 6 days, her habit has been all day long, she's in the cardboard box. And then at night she comes out and she sits on top of her branch and the black plastic hide I put in there, and she sits under the ceramic heat emitter. And then I've seen her in there moving around quite a bit at night too. So I got some footage of her for you, and I am going to just show you that right now. But there you go. That's the story of Buddy/Betty. If she is in fact even a girl, we're not really sure.